Hello, today I'd like to talk to you about planning. I'll put on the title slide there, what do you do when there's nothing to do? Which is a form of words I've borrowed from Xavery Tartakova, not world champion, but world champion of chess journalism. So what I have in mind is there are some positions that don't really have much going on by way of tactics. In fact, in some games there might be very little to say about tactics for a long while. If there is a tactic for your opponent, defend against it. So if your opponent's threatening checkmate, you need to stop it, or there's game over. If you've looked for tactics for your opponent, there aren't any. If there's a tactic for you, play it. And actually, if you've got a checkmate, you don't even have to defend against your opponents. So tactics and threats are the most important things to look for first. But if there aren't any tactics for either side, then what? And the answer is you need to think of something to do, and that's what we call strategy or positional chess, or I'm going to call it planning. I think it's the first plan that most chess players young chess players seem to adopt is attack something, and if it doesn't move away, take it, and that'll work. That'll work for a bit. That's Vladimir Zak, the great Russian trainer, talking about that. So. But you need to do better than that, because you can see this in some positions where youngsters are trying to checkmate with a rook or a queen against a bare king. So you attack the king, check, and it moves away, and you play again, check, and it moves away, and you play again, check, and it moves away, and nothing happens. If a one-move threat can be met with another one move, you haven't really got very far. You need a plan to try and do something like, well, drive the king to the edge of the board. So if anybody asks you what you're trying to do with a move that isn't a tactic, you should have an answer. The basic plan is to make a move that improves your position in some way. So that's easy in the opening. Develop any unmoved pieces. If you've got your rooks in the corners, sulking because they haven't got out of bed yet, move your rooks somewhere sensible, or make a plan to get them developed. So improve your position, develop in the opening, develop any unmoved pieces. Secondly, if you have got all your pieces out, well, one of your pieces is going to be the worst place. I sometimes say the laziest piece. Which of your pieces isn't really working very hard? And see if you can improve it. And if you can't, well, improve your second worst place piece. So there's usually something to do by finding a better square for at least one of your pieces, and that's an okay plan. Another plan which will get you going for a lot of games, and again I've seen this in lots of junior games where they've hit on this idea, and it can work if it's not opposed. So move pieces to where you want to attack. Mostly you want to attack the enemy king, and that can be very easy with a closed centre. Just move everything over to the king's side and wallop. That'll do. But the enemy king isn't the only weak point. You can pick on a weak point like a backward pawn, or even the whole queen side or something like that. Move your pieces over to where you want to attack, and you'll normally want to attack where you have more space. And Jeremy Silman, I think, is the person I associate this with. If you've got blocked pawn chains where there's a like this, so white's pawns are pointing towards the king's side where they've got more space, and black's pawns are pointing towards the queen side where they've got more space, and usually white will want to attack on the king's side and black on the queen side. So that's a decent rule. Move your pieces over towards that side where you have more space. And that probably will do you for a while in terms of planning, but there is another level of planning which you'll read about and hear talked about in plans games by better players. An advanced sort of plan is, I often think, works along the principles of ready, aim and fire. So to get ready to make a plan, you need to assess the position, try and work out try and notice things. Chess is a game mostly about noticing. Assess the position. Is the king safe? If your king isn't safe, your opponent's king isn't safe, that'll tell you what to do, or should tell you start thinking about what to do. Are there weaknesses in the pawn structure? So there's a backward pawn somewhere, or double pawns. Are there good and bad pieces? Is there one good piece that you want to keep on the board? Is there a good piece of your opponent's you want to get rid of? Is there a bad piece that you want to leave your opponent with and swap off all their other pieces? So where the pieces are, good and bad, should tell you what to do. Are there forcing moves, like making a pawn break in that last position I showed you? White can break with a move like f5, create an open line. And lines in general, files, diagonals, ranks. If you notice what's going on with those, that might tell you what to do. And just generally what's going on in the centre and space on the chessboard, again, is an element of a plan. So see if you can notice what's going on in these different positional elements and decide, what's good for you, what's good for your opponent, what's most important, and then that should maybe tell you what to do. And so you just then decide on a plan. I'm going to attack on the king side, I'm going to open up this line, I'm going to try and attack on this side while my opponent's pieces are all on the other side. When you decide on a plan, short-term plans are better than long ones, and if your opponent can defend against it, it's not worth doing. So is it quick and easy to do, and is it hard to defend? Decide on a plan, and then have a look at a move. So you do all this thinking. Might take a long while actually. Have a look around, so have a good hard look at the chessboard. Decide what you want to do, and then think about all the different moves that might go towards your plan, and pick the one that does best. And you'll see that explained in all over chess writing and videos and the rest of it. And if you want a good example of that, I've just made a video about isolated queen pawns, and the first part of that will say, well, we've got an isolated queen pawn in the position, that's what I've noticed, so what? How does that help me make a plan? And so there's an example of that sort of thinking if you're interested in that video.